Welcome
This is very
everyone to the Lord Meher book reading. Thank you. And here we go. In the afternoon, Baba drew up a new program of activity, assigning duties to each man and specifying what time they would awaken in the morning and to retire at night. A certain period each day was allotted for recreation, with a special time set aside for the master to explain spiritual subjects. After the new schedule was written up, it was pasted on a piece of cardboard and hung on the wall for each man to read. Baba had sent Sona Masi and her daughter Khurshid from Ahmedabad to Ahmednagar with orders that they should remain there unless otherwise instructed. While Baba and the Mandali were touring Gujarat, Sona Masi's husband, Kai Khushru Masa, became seriously ill in Bombay. Can everyone just unmute yourselves if that's okay? There's a lot of noise in the background. Thank you. Sonamasi's husband Kai Kushru Masa became seriously ill in Bombay. Although Sonamasi received a telegram urging her to immediately come to Bombay, she did not go. In a few days, another telegram was received about his condition, but Sona Masi obeyed the master's orders and did not leave. Even a third telegram saying that Masa's illness had taken a turn for the worse was disregarded. After Baba returned to Mehrabad, he called Sona Masi and Khurshid to him. When he was informed about Kaikushru Masa's illness, he asked, "Why didn't you go?" "How could I break your order?" Sona Masi replied. "What if Masa had died?" Baba asked. "Then what?" "So what?" Sonamasi answered. "Everyone has to die sometime. What will your relatives say about your behavior?" "I don't care about what anyone thinks. What do I have to do with the world when I'm at your feet?" Baba then smilingly told her, "Had you broken my order, Masa would have died. But now he won't. You have saved him by obeying my instructions." Baba at once sent her and Khurshid to Bombay, and Kaikushru Masa's health improved as soon as they arrived. On 11th July 1923, repairs to the post office building began. But after only 2 hours of work, Baba gathered the mandali around him and said, "It is better to proceed to Bombay rather than to remain here and look for work to keep ourselves occupied. In Bombay, there is no problem about keeping busy. Also, I can guide Wajif Tar in his work of handling the distribution of Upasni Maharaj's biography in Gujarati. But you must all consider two things. First, the house behind Manzile Mem, where the office is located, is quite small and the space is limited. You will all have to stay there since we cannot afford to rent a bigger place. Secondly, every one of you will have to find some sort of job for himself, but the employment will only last for a few months. To enable me to be left alone during the day, some service outside work is necessary for you. There is nothing wrong with seeking a job. Each one can do whatever work he likes, but each must be employed, and the employment should be sought within a certain period after we reach Bombay. If a favorable job is not found, one can work as a coolie, but work you must. If you agree to these two conditions, I'm ready to leave Mehrabad immediately for Bombay. While the matter was being discussed, Baba sent a few of the mandali to bring the remainder of the personal belongings from Khushru quarters. Soon after, he said, "Today I will only eat khichdi, and tomorrow I won't take anything except water. After that, I will remain only on coffee." On the morning of 12th July at 5:30 a.m., Baba asked the Mandali what they had decided. A meeting was convened in the dilap- dilapidated. How do you pronounce it, Marvin?
You
Dilapidated.
got it, but dilapidated.
Dilapidated mud hut near the post office under Bairamji's chairmanship. After pondering the plan and conditions, it was settled to move back to Bombay. Baba was informed of this decision, and he again repeated that all would have to find employment. During their stay in Bombay, and those who did not find a job would have to return to their homes for an indefinite period. All held to the decision to go with him. Baba told them that he was in a hurry to leave and get packed. The luggage was forwarded to the train station in a bullock cart, while the Mandali walked there with Baba. They left Ahmednagar on the 12:45 train and arrived back at Manzile Meem early the next morning. After a 3-month absence, the main Manzile Meem building was under repair when Baba and the Mandali arrived on Friday, 13th July 1923, and the compound was cluttered with debris. It was the middle of the monsoon. Water was dripping from the roof in Circle and Company's office, and most of the floor was wet. They removed the tables and chairs and found a dry place to spread their bedding. During the previous stay at the Manzil, they occupied the spacious main bungalow. But now, as Baba said, they were consigned to squeezing into the small office in the backyard amidst all the furniture. Baido found a job in a restaurant the next day, and gradually everyone else found some employment. The men went to work during the day and returned to the manzil in the evening. Gustaji and Behramji were near Baba 24 hours a day, yet they were busily engaged in collating and folding the printed pages of volume 1 of the Gujarati edition of Upasani Maharaj's biography. As soon as the printed sheets were received from Navsari, they were folded, collated, and sent to a binder in Bombay. The other men would take part in this work at night after supper. The various Pune and Bombay Mandali began coming to see the master at the manzil, and all were happy Baba was again residing in Bombay. Gulmai, Adi, and Rustam would also come from Ahmednagar. After the Gujarat journey, Adi had been sent to stay at home with his parents, but he would frequently visit. On 16th August 1923, after staying in Bombay for over a month, Baba went to Lonavala by train, accompanied by Behramji, Barsop, Gustaji, Adi, and Rustam. Ramjo and Ghani, whose families lived in Lonavala, arranged for their stay in Mr. Madni's bungalow, and Abdul Tayyab loaned his car for Baba's use. The 7 days in Lonavala were relaxing and joyful. The master gave discourses, played cards, and listened to phonograph records with the Mandali. They hiked to Khandala waterfalls, Palwan Lake, and the lake at Bhushi. Wajifdar and Sadhashiv Patel joined them, and the cool, pleasant monsoon weather and Baba's good humor had the Mandli in high spirits. Baba also visited Ghani's and Ramju's homes on 21st August, and their families were graced by having his darshan. On Wednesday, 22nd August, Baba proceeded to Pune by car at 5 p.m., taking all his belongings and instructing Ghani and Ramju to write a letter to Mr. Madni saying his bungalow was now vacant. However, Ramju was informed the next day that Baba had come back to the bungalow with the mandli. Ramju hurried over to the house, concerned about arrangements for their food. When Baba saw Ramju, he said angrily, Sadashiv was so inattentive to me and the others that I came back here last night at midnight. Yet soon I must return to Pune so as not to displease Sadashiv and those at Kaspapet. After a long discussion, it was decided by Baba that they should instead stay in Abdullah Jafar's house in the camp area of Pune. And Sadashiv should be told to arrange for the Mandali's food. During this time, Baba would still drink only coffee and perhaps occasionally eat a small amount of vegetables. Ramju immediately left for Pune to make all the necessary arrangements. Abdullah Jafar, Ramju's brother-in-law, willingly put his bungalow at Baba's disposal. At first, Sadashiv agreed to provide food for the group, but later expressed his inability. Ghani's family grew to 4 daughters and 1 son, and Ramju and his wife eventually had 6 sons and 2 daughters. Renee, would you like to read next?
After a train ride, Mona, is that where we have to read?
But how could moths remain without light?
Okay, sure. But how could moths remain without light? Now life itself became a constant search to find the everlasting light and merge in it. After a train ride through the night, Baba and the Mandali arrived at the Dadar station in Bombay at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday, 7 July 1923. Pustaji and Birjor Dahibala were waiting at the station, and all immediately left for another station where a train was scheduled to depart for Nasik at 7:25 a.m. News of Meher Baba's arrival had spread throughout the city among his followers. Besides Berger, Naval and Dina Talati, Hormuzji, and Rupamai Karani, Dina's parents, and the devotees of Charni Road were also present at Dadar. Berger brought cooked rice and dal for them to take in the train, and Baba lovingly greeted each person. Masaji also met Baba at the station and rejoined the Mandali. Pendu departed for Kata, where he was told to rest and regain his health. During the train ride, Baba distributed the food to the men. He drank only coffee, not breaking his liquid fast of several months. A Parsi in their compartment gazed fixedly at Baba for a long time. The man could not bear the splendor of Baba's beauty and eventually was overcome and fell at the feet of the master. After he regained his composure, Baba embraced him compassionately and inquired about him. They reached Nasik at 2:45 p.m. and Sayyid Sahib, who was from Nasik, was waiting to receive them. They rode in Tangas to Nomanbai's bungalow, where Sayyid Sahib had made provisional arrangements for them to lodge for a few days. This house was 6 miles from the station and was quite airy and spacious. Sayyid Sahib brought rice, dal, and spinach from his. Okay. After arrangement for them to lodge for a few days. This house was 6 miles from the station and was quite airy and spacious. Sayyid Sahib brought rice and dal and spinach from his home, but Baba returned the spinach as the Mandali were under his strict orders to eat only rice and dal. Nevertheless, the meal was quite tasty, and after many days, the Mandali again enjoyed a deliciously spiced dal. That's what we should have for lunch today. On 8th July, Baba went with Gustaji, Beramji, and Munshiji, who had arrived the previous night, in search of more long-term accommodations. He selected a place by the riverside near Gangapur and returned to Nomabais to explain his next move. However, within 2 hours, Baba suddenly changed his plan of staying in Nasik on the pretext. I've heard there are many, what is it, dasiots? What does it mean?
Dacoits,
Dacoits.
like thugs, thieves,
Okay.
a higher version of thieves.
Yeah. Many dacoits here who kidnap children, so it is not good to remain in such a place. After a lengthy discussion about where to travel next, it was decided to return to Mehrabad the next day. From 4:30 a.m., Aziz Ahmed, who had met Baba in Manzil-e-Mim, drove his car back and forth 3 times to the station, transporting the men and all the luggage. They left Nasik at 7:30 a.m. by train, arriving in Manmad 3 hours later. Masaji cooked rice and dal on the station platform. Then they departed on the 12:15 p.m. train to Dand, reaching Ahmadnagar at 5:30. Shouldering the luggage, they walked the 5 miles to Mehrabad. July 9th was indeed an auspicious day because in the evening, Meher Baba, after fasting only on liquids for 6 months, joined the Mandali for dinner. He ate a small amount of rice and dal. The following day, arrangements to stay in the post office building began. Slamson Masaji and Padri went to Ahmadnagar and bought the necessary materials for repairs. Returning to Mehrabad, they brought some of the metal trunks that had been stored in Pushru quarters. Okay. Returning to Mehrabad, they brought some of the metal trunks and had been stored in Pushro quarters. before they had stored it for get-up. Beidul and Nervous fixed the tiles on the roof and installed new glass in the post office windows. Meanwhile, lunch had been prepared and Bobo tasted a little of rice and dal first, then distributed to the men.
What year are we in now with this?
I think 1923, it said.
Yes,
Yeah.
1923.
Thank you.
Rosalie, you have the page in the book by any chance?
I went and I brought volume 1, but we're past volume 1. I think this is volume 2.
But what page? Anyone know?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I have volume 2, but
Rosalie, you
to go
have any
bring it.
idea?
No, I can't quite match it.
Yeah, that's I have volume 2 and I'm looking and I can't find it.
Yeah, it is in volume 2, looks like. So we've come quite a bit. We finished 1 volume, I have no idea.
Yeah, we finished one volume.
I think this is the end of volume, is it?
Volume
volume?
2? No, it
I'm
must
not
be.
able to go to the next page. I don't know.
Oh, that might be it. One
Let me
second, let me
see.
go to the
No,
next
I think
one.
there were all the pages, so I'm just thinking.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Hold on one second. I have to. I wonder if we have a book. What's the way of
Yeah, the next
screen
page
share it?
here on the right side.
Service is still unavailable. So I just checked to see. Oh, okay, that's good, Mona. That's wonderful.
Can you see properly, Mahu?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, thank you.
How can you see? I can't see. I see part of this and
Afternoon,
part of
Baba
that.
grew up. No, not the left. Oh, okay. So we finished the left page, right, Mona?
Yeah, you haven't read the bottom, the left page, but that's okay. Let's start with in the afternoon, Baba grew up. Do you want
Okay.
to read or you want somebody else to read?
Yeah, if somebody else wants to read, that's fine. I think
Anybody else wants to read, guys?
I can read, but where are
Thanks,
we?
Rosalie. Continue, please.
Where
in the afternoon, Baba grew up.
In the afternoon, Baba
afternoon.
grew up a new program of activity. Let's start.
Yeah.
Okay. In the afternoon, Baba drew up a new program of activity, assigning duties to each man and specifying what time they were to awaken in the morning and to retire at night. A certain period each day was allotted for recreation, with a special time set aside for the master to explain spiritual subjects. After the new schedule was written up, it was pasted on a piece of cardboard and hung on the wall for each man to read. Baba had sent Sunamasi and her daughter Khorshid from Ahmedabad to Ahmednagar with orders that they should remain there unless otherwise instructed. While Baba and the Mandali were touring Gujarat, Sunamasi's husband, Kaikushru Masa, became seriously ill in Bombay. Although Sunamasi received a telegram urging her to immediately come to Bombay, she did not go. In a few days, another telegram was received about his condition. But
Haven't we read this part?
Yeah, we have read that. And she didn't go, and then Baba came and asked her why she didn't go, and she said, because he gave their order, and he said, you saved him. And then
Yeah,
he
we
sent
definitely
her-
read this. Definitely read this. Maybe we need to scroll a little further.
But there in the middle, it says on 11th July 1923. So that answers your question, what year it is.
Yeah,
And
but I'm
the-
looking for that.
The wrong
I'm
page
looking
right
for
there.
that date and I can't find it in the
We've
book.
read this, is it? Have we read this?
That page.
We
definitely
read about Sunamasi's husband being ill. That's we read just at the beginning.
in 20.
But Mahu just finished at, meanwhile, lunch had been prepared and Baba tasted a little bit of the rice and dal first and then distributed to the men. So this is the next page after that.
Somehow we must have gone back.
You know, some of this we've maybe read before, so this jumping back and forth, let's not do it. Let's just
Yeah.
go on.
Let's just go with it, please.
Yeah, no, because we can do this forever.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
it's Baba's life. We want to hear it, so let's hear it. Where are we now? Okay, after Baba returned to Meherabad, he called Sunamasi and Khorshid to him. When he was informed about Kaikhushru Masa's illness, he asked, "Why didn't you go?" "How could I break your order?" Sunamasi replied. "What if Masi had died?" Baba asked. "Then what?" "So what?" Sunamasi answered. "Everyone has to die sometime. What will your relatives say about your behavior?" I don't care about what anyone thinks. What do I have to do with the world when I am at your feet?
Rosie,
Baba
I'm
then-
sorry. Actually, I have read this, so I'm going to try and locate.
No. Let's go ahead. This is important anyway.
Okay.
What do I have to do with the world when I am at your feet? Worth repeating. Baba then smilingly told her, "Had you broken my order, Masa would have died, but now he won't. You have saved him by obeying my instructions." Baba at once sent her and Khorshid to Bombay, and Kaikhushru Masa's health improved as soon as they arrived. On 11th July 1923, repairs to the post office building began. But after only 2 hours of work, Baba gathered the Mandali around him and said, "It is better to proceed to Bombay rather than remain here and look for work to keep ourselves occupied. In Bombay, there is no problem about keeping busy. Also, I can guide Vajifdar in his work of handling the distribution of Upasni Maharaj's biography in Gujarat. But you must all consider two things. First, the house behind Manzilimim, where the office is located, is quite small and the space is limited. You will all have to stay there since we cannot afford to rent a bigger place. Secondly, every one of you will have to find some sort of job for himself, but the employment will only last for a few months. To enable me to be left alone during the day, some service outside work is necessary for you. There is nothing wrong with seeking a job. Each one can do whatever work he likes, but each must be employed, and the employment should be sought within a certain period after we reach Bombay. If a favorable job is not found, one can even work as a coolie. But work you must. If you agree to these two conditions, I am ready to leave Meherabad immediately for Bombay." While the matter was being discussed, Baba sent a few of the Mandali to bring the remainder of their personal belongings from Khushru quarters. Soon after, he said, "Today I will only eat khichdi, And tomorrow I won't take anything except water. What is khichdi? Does anyone know?
Yeah, khichdi is a mixture of dal and rice made together.
Oh, this is
Uh,
kitchery. This is kitchery.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
Okay, I
it's,
can't tell
it's
by
in
writing.
a like liquidy dal with rice mix.
I
It's
know
called
khichdi.
khichdi.
Yeah, yeah.
It's therapeutic. It's made.
It's dal and rice together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have recognized it from that spelling. Anyway, and
It's actually a flap. We say it incorrectly. It's a r. It's a r. So because of the flap, it can be spelt with a D or an R.
today I will only eat khichdi, and
It's
tomorrow
supposed to be light on your stomach.
I won't take anything except water. After that, I will remain only on coffee. This is 6 months. That's amazing. On the morning of 12th July at 5:30 a.m., Baba asked the Mandali what they had decided. A meeting was convened in the dilapidated mud hut near the post office under Baramji's chairmanship. After pondering the plan and conditions, it was settled to move back to Bombay. Baba was informed of this decision, and he again repeated that all would have to find employment. We need more words. Baba was informed of this decision, and he again repeated that all would have to find employment.
Can you make that bigger?
Okay.
Well, she's trying to
I
move
need-
the
I
page.
am trying to
need-
go to the next page, and when I'm
Yeah,
zoomed in, I cannot
need
make it bigger. So just bear with me to like shift the page and then I'll zoom in. Thank you.
Is this the page? It needs to be lowered a little for me. It needs to be a little lower. During their stay in Bombay, and those who did not find a job would have to return to their homes for an indefinite period. All held to their decision to go with him. Baba told them that he was in a hurry to leave and get packed. The luggage was forwarded to the train station in a bullock cart, while the Mandali walked there with Baba. They left Ahmednagar on the 12:45 p.m. train and arrived back at Manzili Mim early the next morning after a 3-month absence. The main Manzili Mim building was under repair when Baba and the Mandali arrived on Friday, the 13th of July, 1923, and the compound was cluttered with debris. It was the middle of the monsoon. Water was dripping from the roof in the Circle and Company's office, and most of the floor was wet. They removed the tables and chairs and found a dry place to spread their bedding. During their previous stay at the Manzil, they occupied the spacious main bungalow. But now, as Baba said, they were consigned to squeezing into the small office in the backyard amidst all the furniture. Baidul found a job in a restaurant the next day, and gradually everyone else found some employment. The men went to work during the day and returned to the Manzil in the evening. Gustaji and Baramji were near Baba 24 hours a day. Yet they were busily engaged in collating and folding the printed pages of Volume 1 of the Gujarati edition of Upasni Maharaj's biography. As soon as the printed sheets were received from Navsari, they were folded, collated, and sent to a binder in Bombay. The other men would take part in this work at night after supper. The various Pune and Bombay Mandali began coming to see the master at the Manzil, and all were happy Baba was again residing in Bombay. Gulmai, Adi, and Rustam would also come from Ahmednagar. After the Gujarat journey, Adi had been sent to stay at home with his parents, but he would frequently visit. On 16th August 1923, after staying in Bombay for over a month, Baba went to Lanavla by train accompanied by Baramji, Barsok, Gustaji, Adi, and Rustam. Ramju and Ghani, whose families lived in Lanavla, arranged for their stay in Mr. Madni's bungalow, and Abdul Tayyab loaned his car for Baba's use. The 7 days in Lanavla were relaxing and joyful. The master gave discourses, played cards, and listened to phonograph records with the Mandali. They hiked to the Kandala waterfalls, Walvan Lake, and the lake at Bushi. But Jiftar and Sadashiv Patil joined them and the cool, pleasant monsoon weather, and Baba's good humor had the Mandali in high spirits. Baba also visited Ghani's and Ramju's homes on 21st August, and their families were graced by having his darshan. On Wednesday, 22nd August, Baba proceeded to Pune by car at 5 p.m., taking all his belongings and instructing Ghani and Ramju to write a letter to Mr. Madni, saying his bungalow was now vacant. However, Ramju was informed the next day that Baba had come back to the bungalow with the Mandali. Ramju hurried over to the house, concerned about arrangements for their food. When Baba saw Ramju, he said angrily, "Sadashiv was so inattentive to me and the others that I came back here last night at midnight. Yet soon I must return to Pune so as not to displease Sadashiv and those at Kasbapeth." After a long discussion, it was decided by Baba that they should instead stay in Abdullah Jafar's house in the camp area of Pune, and Sadashiv should be told to arrange for the Mandali's food. During this time, Baba would still drink only coffee and perhaps occasionally eat a small amount of vegetables. Ramju immediately left for Pune to make all the necessary arrangements. Abdullah Jafar, Ramju's brother-in-law, willingly put his bungalow at Baba's disposal. At first, Sadashiv agreed to provide food for the group, but later expressed his inability in their stay in Bombay. Okay, you need to lower it a little bit. Okay. He was upset at Baba's staying at Abdullah's house because he wanted the master to stay with him. Baba returned to Abdullah's that evening. The 23rd of August was the 9th day of Moharram, and Baba watched the Tazia procession from Dr. Modi's dispensary, where Abdullah had arranged seats for them. Baba had especially invited Dalit Mai, her daughter Mera, Sunamasi and Korsha to join him in Pune to see the parade. The next morning, Baba called Sadashiv and the Kaspa Peth Mandali and scolded them. You never look to my needs or keep me pleased. If I choose to put up at Abdullah's, you should think I am doing so because it is my pleasure. If I am not happy staying at your place, and if I remain there against my will, would you like that? Always see to my pleasure, not your own. Everything is found in doing that. The highest love is to have an eye for the master's happiness. Try to keep me pleased. That is all I ask. The atmosphere again returned to normal, and in the afternoon, Baba visited Arjun's house where Sadashiv came to meet him. Sadashiv arranged the evening meal, and the Mandali ate at his house. Thereafter, they returned to Abdullah's. The Kasba Peth Mandali sought Baba's forgiveness and showed their willingness to provide him and the Mandali with all their meals. Baba and the Mandali, however, spent the night of the 26th at Sadashiv's as a picnic was planned the next morning. On the 27th, Baba and a large group were ferried in several trips to a spot about 7 miles outside of Pune on the Saswad Road, where a tent had been pitched. There he played gilli danda until evening. Afterward, he told those present, "Thank your good luck that I am playing with you. You will realize it later. It is a very rare type of sahavas, companionship, which I am giving you." He added, "He who has the company of a perfect master eventually gains everything. There is nothing comparable in value to a perfect master's sahavas." The next day in Pune, Baba with the Mandali went to his family's house in Butler Mahalla to visit his parents, brothers, and sisters. He inquired of Bobo's business and Memo's well-being. Shariarji possessed a spiritual outlook, and his mind was always absorbed in God, no matter what he was doing. While providing for his family, Bobo remained always resigned to the will of God as it presented itself. Shireen Mai was more down to earth and practical in managing their large household. At that time, Baba's sister Mani, a very special bud of his garden, was 5 years old. Baba kissed her and had her sit on his lap, giving her special attention, while the Mandali sat on the carpet around them, listening to Mani's precocious inquiries. Baramji's uncle, Jambu Mama, had also come to see Baba. Jambu was wearing his usual black cap and long black coat buttoned to his neck. Suddenly, Baba laughed, remarking, "Look how Jambu is serving me. He is so quiet sitting there in the corner, but he is rendering great service to me." All were confused and stared at Jambu. Baba explained, "Don't you see how he is covered in black? Because he is dressed in black, all the mosquitoes are feasting on him instead of me. He is saving me from being bitten. It is not an insignificant service." All chuckled at Baba's humorous logic. Later, during the course of conversation, some would go to another room of the house. Baba would say, "Don't let Jambu leave. All the mosquitoes are going to him." By making those near him laugh and making them weep, by feeding them and making them fast, by keeping them in comfort and making them suffer. I need more words. By keeping them in palatial. I love that. By making those near him laugh. and
Thank you,
making-
Rosalie.
You need more words.
You want to read the last few lines as well?
At the bottom, Muharram is the Islamic holy day in honor of the martyrdom of Muhammad's grandson Hussein. The town of Saswad, about 20 miles from Pune, is located at the foot of Purandar Hill, on top of which is an old fort. More than 20 years later, in 1947, Baba sat in seclusion on this hill for 9 days. That's all I can see.
Thank you, Rosalie. Yep. Elizabeth, would you like to read?
You need more words.
I can read if Elizabeth is otherwise not. By making those near him laugh and making them weep, by feeding them and making them fast, by keeping them in comfort and making them suffer, by keeping them in palatial houses and making them stay in huts, by dressing them well and by making them become fakirs, by playing with them and making them labor, by joking with them and making them offer devotions. Through all these different ways, the Lord poured the wine from his wine shop into their cups. The only thing of lasting value for those who drank it was to keep his pleasure and completely disregard the joys and sorrows of this world. That day, the master met every one of his relatives at his parents' house. Kissing little Mani farewell, he affectionately remarked to his father, "Mani is really most lucky and special." He then returned to Abdullah Jaffer's residence. On the 30th of August, after staying in Pune for a week, Baba was ready to leave for Bombay. But before he departed, he visited the house of a young man named Mulog, who lived in Kirki, a suburb of Pune. Mulog owned a brickyard, which he showed Baba and the men Mandali. Baba seemed pleased to meet the man and see his business. At this time, Mulog was fortunate to play host to the Divine Beloved, but he was to betray Baba's pleasure by deceiving and swindling Bobo in a business transaction years later. Baba and the Mandali returned to Bombay in the evening. When they arrived at the Manzil, several strangers were waiting there to have Baba's darshan, which he compassionately consented to give. Baba had planned to stay in the small office in the backyard of Manzilamim for an indefinite period. But soon after his return, he started complaining about the discomforts of the small office house, its leaky roof and the damp rooms. And the landlord, whose attitude was less than friendly, did nothing toward fixing the roof. Baba had noticed a building for rent in the Parel district and liked it. His bedding and luggage and that of some of the Mandali were transferred there on Sunday, the 2nd of September, 1923. The remaining belongings were to be brought the following day. But the next day, after Baba had spent the night in the new house, he declared that it was quite unsuitable and inconvenient, so it was promptly vacated. Baba selected another house newly built near Kohinoor Mills in Dadar. He looked the place over and, before settling the rent with the owner, ordered the remaining baggage from Circle and Company's office to be shifted there. However, within an hour, he found fault with the incomplete condition of the building, as some of the construction work was still being done, and asked Baramji and Bajifdar to find another accommodation in Dadar. They selected one, and Baba went in person to inspect it. The apartment was situated near the Dadar railway station on the second floor of Irani Mansion number 6. And the building, which was owned by Kaikushu Masa's sister, was later called Tafti Mansion. It was spacious and could be comfortably divided into 2 main sections. In one part, there were 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a toilet, and a bathroom, which Vajifdar was to occupy with his family. In the other half, there was a large room, a balcony, and a bedroom, which would adequately serve Baba and the Mandali as an office and living accommodations. After Baramji and Vajifdar settled the terms of rent with the landlord, Baba moved in on the 3rd of September. Behind the master's sudden change of plans was always a hidden objective. From this move, Vajifdar and his relatives came into Baba's close contact. New deep connections were also established with other people of the locality. All furniture from the Manzil office was moved to Irani Mansion during the first week of their stay. A huge wooden cupboard could not be taken up the narrow staircase, so it had to be hoisted by ropes over the balcony to the 2nd floor. The office tables and chairs were kept outside on the balcony, and the wooden almirah cupboard was kept in the large hall. Vajifdar moved into the house with his sister-in-law Jerbahi and his sister Hilla as soon as Baba and the Mandali settled there. Those who were employed would eat lunch at their jobs and have their dinner along with the rest of the Mandali. For those who stayed with Baba, lunch consisted of the usual dal and rice. The evening meal was a vegetable and bread. Vajifdar's sister-in-law and her sister would do the cooking, which was a great relief to the men. From the first week of October 1923, the master began taking food and tea once every day. Upasni Maharaj had recently expressed his concern to Yeshwant Rao, which Yeshwant had conveyed at Manzilimim, that Merwan would give up even this much food. Soon, for as long as 8 to 9 months, Baba would do as Maharaj had foretold. The work of collating the pages of volume 1 of Upasni Maharaj's biography in Gujarati, Sakorina Sadguru, continued at Irani Mansion. Those who stayed in the house during the day did most of the collation, arranging the printed pages in proper order. But those who returned in the evening from their jobs also had to help. Written by Bailey and Sorabji Desai, the book was directed at the Zoroastrian community of Parsis and Iranis. Baba was anxious to have the book published before proceeding to Sakari on foot, which he planned to do in mid-October. For this purpose, a bullock cart was purchased to carry their luggage during the foot journey. It was an odd coincidence that the bullock purchased with the cart was the same animal which had accompanied them during their trek from Pune to Bombay in May 1922. By the middle of October 1923, nearly all the Marathi and Urdu copies of Upasni Maharaj's biography were finally sold. 1,000 books had been purchased by various devotees to be given away free to students. The responsibility for distribution was handed over to the government's public education department, thereby saving the Mandali the bothersome task of trying to sell them. The balance of the Marathi and Urdu versions were stored in the wooden cupboard at Irani Mansion, and Vajifdar volunteered to take upon himself the responsibility of selling these books and volume 1 of the Gujarati edition. Thus, the publishing work of Circle and Company came to an end. Baba had no plans to publish other books besides volume 2 of Sakarina Sadguru, which was being completed, and therefore had the company officially dissolved. On 18th October, the first lot of Gujarati books was received from the binders. Before Baba left for Sakari, he told Kaikushu Maza, Sunamasi, and Khorshed to move from their home in Parel to the portion of the Rani Mansion house in Dadar, which he had been using for the Mandali and Circle and Company. Baba also told them that after going to Sakori, he had definitely decided to visit Persia with some of the Mandali. He then instructed Naval Talati to obtain passports for himself and certain Mandali, although Baba did not clearly indicate which men were to accompany him. I'll just read the notes at the bottom there. Many persons had gone to Sakori for Upasni's Maharaja's darshan after reading his Marathi biography, including the parents of Godavri Mai. Next note, a Persian passport was issued to MEHER on 16 October 1923. In the passport details, it is noted, religion, Zoroastrian, profession, master. Cool. On Friday, October 1923, Baba awakened the Mandali at 3 a.m. and after all had washed, the foot journey to Sakori began. This was their third walking trek in just over a year. This time, 14 men accompanied the master, Adi Senior, Rustam, Baidul, Babu Saikalwala, Baramji, Burjor Dahiwala, Gustaji, Gani, Nervous, Ramju, Sarosh, Slamson, and Vajifdar. Burjor, Sarosh, and Vajifdar accompanied them only as far as Ghatkopar, the first day's destination. Jal and Barsop had gone to their respective homes. The son of Durgabai Karmarkar, Raghunath, also accompanied them, but only but for only a certain, as yet undecided, distance of the journey. Sadashiv Patil was to join the group the following day in Thana. The luggage was placed in the bullock cart and, freed from carrying a burdensome load, the Mandalay were able to walk at a much more rapid pace compared to that of their previous journey in Gujarat. Unencumbered, they walked the 7 miles to Ghat Kopar easily. As they were searching for a place to rest, Keki Irani, Sarosha's future brother-in-law, came and requested that Baba come to his house. At first he refused. However, after Keki's repeated entreaties, Baba accepted. Keki's mother prepared a delicious lunch for them. Keki was an amateur photographer, and the master allowed him to photograph him on this occasion. During this journey, Baba continued eating only a handful of rice and dal once every 24 hours and 1 cup of tea. He also had not rested well for the past several nights. The next morning at 4 a.m., they left Keki's house in the dark and walked holding kerosene lanterns. They hiked 10 miles to Thana, where they stayed in a dak bungalow. The day passed pleasantly, and in the late afternoon, they relaxed by flying kites. Burjor came again to meet Baba and then left for Bombay. Sadashiv arrived the same evening from Pune. They left Thana for Bhiwandi at 5 a.m. on Sunday, 21 October 1923. After walking 4 miles, they boarded boats to cross a creek near the village of Kolshet. Baidul and Raghunath were left behind to take the bullock cart on a road around the small river. After crossing the creek, Baba led them on the Bombay-Agra road toward Bhiwandi. They intended to stop at Nasir Ahmed's house, but they accidentally took the wrong road. Nasir Ahmed had met Baba at Manzil Amin the previous November, after being directed to go there by Abdul Wahid, an advanced soul. The group was again composed of men of various religions and castes, and each one was wearing something different. Some had on khaki clothing, some wore dhotis, and some wore loose cotton pajamas. But one thing they had in common, all their clothes were dirty. The villagers of Bhiwandi were interested in this strange array of men and looked at them with curiosity. Although the hems of Baba's white pajamas were torn, his radiant face was the sole beam of light in the darkness surrounding them. The local people were greatly attracted to him as his shining roving eyes surveyed all with lightning-like glances. As the band of men settled in a dak bungalow, some people arrived who had been sent by Nasir Ahmed to find them. Many had been waiting to meet Baba at Nasir's home, but he decided to stay at the dak bungalow instead of going to Nasir's house. Their meal was supposed to be brought by Nasir within a short time. Having waited a while, Baba lost his patience and started complaining about how late it was. He repeatedly inquired whether his dal and rice had arrived yet, demanding that he wanted his food immediately. His mood was serious and the atmosphere became tense. Baba had also become annoyed with Raghunath and had him sent ahead to Sakori in the afternoon. Raghunath was unable to keep pace with the other men and, moreover, was quite inattentive to Baba's instructions. Baba, still angry at Nasir's lateness, stormed off from Bawandi at 5 p.m. for the village of Padga, which was 10 miles away. Baidul and Ramju remained behind and were to follow later with the bullock cart and the food, which had not yet arrived. Reaching Padga, Baba and the Mandali stayed at another dak bungalow until Baidul and Ramju finally came. They rested until the afternoon of the following day and, after having their lunch, started at 4 p.m. for Shahapur, a distance of 11 miles. The road was very rough and they had difficulty traversing it. They arrived at Asangaon at 8 p.m. and they were exhausted. And although they had walked only 8 miles in 4 hours, and they were exhausted, although they had walked only 8 miles in 4 hours. They went to the Asangaon railway station where they camped on the platform. No one could sleep due to the noisy commotion of the crowded station. Leaving Asangaon on the morning of 23 October, they reached Shahapur within half an hour. As they were tired from no sleep the previous night, no one was in a good mood. Those who were unable to keep pace with Baba's speed left with Gustaji at 2:30 p.m. for Kardi, which was 10 miles away. Baba, with the remaining Mandali, left Shahpur at 3:35 p.m. Is there another person who would like to read? I'm fine about going on, but if somebody wants to read, please do.
I can read if you can hear me on this funny computer.
We hear you perfectly.
Oh, good. Just let me get it here. Okay. Maybe I'll put it here.
Honey Bunny, do you want to share screen?
Yeah, can you make me if you can make me a co-host?
I don't know how to do that, but I will try.
Yeah, in participants, click on participants, and then
Yeah,
I think you can do something from there. Click on me and more, maybe.
done.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So, share. Can you see that, redhead?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Although they had, is that the spot? Although they had started an hour later, they soon caught up with Gustaji's slower group at the 9th milestone. Baba's group proceeded, leaving those with Gustaji behind, and reached Khadi at 6:40 p.m. They again camped on the train station platform and soon after dinner went to sleep early. On the 24th of October, Baba and the group of men left Khadi at 4 a.m. for Kasara. At Khadi, the hilly ascent of the Ghats began, and some of the men suffered muscle cramps, sore feet, and blisters. The bullock cart had to be pushed from behind as it was difficult for the animals to climb the steep hills. Gradually, each man became extremely irritable during his this exhausting walk. Reaching Kasara, worn out, they stayed at a dharamshala where they immediately sought rest. Gustaji's condition was by far the worst. Besides being tired from the strain of the day's journey, his health had not been good, and he had large blisters on his feet. He was the last to arrive at the dharamshala. As soon as Gustaji set foot inside, Baba directed Adi to ask him when he was going to cook Baba's dal and rice
Sorry.
because it was getting late. Gustaji was on the point of collapsing, and this simple question was irksome. He lost his temper, which displeased Baba. Upset, Baba began abusing everyone for their various complaints, and Gustaji in particular for his moaning. The situation grew so unpleasant that Gustaji, unable to control his anger, left for the railway station, declaring that he was leaving Baba forever and never wanted to see him ever again. Soon after, Baba became his genial self again and sent Behramji to bring Gustaji back. When Gustaji returned to the dharamshala, it did not take Baba long to pacify him and return matters to normal. Such daily dramas of life near the avatar, even for stalwarts like Gustaji, were repeated time and again with different close followers. But as Ramju pointed out, when teasing and troubling the Mandali, Baba himself is no way suffering less, but on the contrary, 100 times more. Before lunch, Baba asked all to rest for an hour, which they gladly did. After eating, they walked to a stream where they bathed, washed their clothes, and Baba advised those who had blisters to apply heated oil to the affected areas. Rustam was sent to the village of Igatpuri at 5 p.m. and returned 2 hours later after arranging for meals there. On the 25th of October at 2:30 a.m., all had to rise unusually early and prepare to depart. Gosh, the detail in these diaries is magnificent, isn't it? On the 25th of October at 2:30 a.m., all had to arise unusually early and prepare to depart. They had hardly drifted off to sleep when they were awakened. Those who had to keep night watch had virtually no sleep at all. Soon after leaving Kasara, however, they came to another steep hill, and the bullock was not strong enough to pull the heavy cart. So for 2 miles, each man had to shoulder his bedding or carry it on his head and help push the cart up the hill. At 8:45 a.m., after covering 13 miles, they came to the restaurant at Igatpuri, at which Rustam had arranged for their breakfast of rice and dal. Despite Rustam's instructions for the food to be kept ready, the owner had not done so at such an early hour, and Baba decided to forego breakfast. Lord, however, he told the Mandali to eat sweets and drink tea, but no one took pleasure in it when Baba was going without food. After breakfast, they went to the duck bungalow at Igatpuri, and in the afternoon, rice and dal were bought from an Irani restaurant. Baba then instructed them to rest. At 4 p.m., he told them to get ready to see the beautiful lake. Although all prepared for the outing, no one was eager to go sightseeing, and Baba clearly saw this on their faces. Oh, Baba. He then asked who wanted to accompany him to the lake. Since not one man said he wanted to go, Baba changed his mind and proposed playing cards. But as the game went on, he remarked that they only played half-heartedly, and he became quite upset. As a consequence, he ordered that no one should speak to him, and he declared that he would not speak to any of them.
They were tired.
Oh
Poor
my
them.
God, exhausted. The Mandalay thought this was only a threat. The barber immediately began keeping silence and did not speak with anyone except Paramji. It was a significant day. It was the first time that Meher Baba kept silence with the Mandalay. Dun, 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 dun. Although they retired early that night, they got up later than usual at 6 a.m. This was their first good night's rest in the 7 days since beginning the march from Bombay. The master remained silent and would convey messages through Baramji, who was feeling very pleased and proud that Baba was talking only to him, making him, in the eyes of the others, the favorite disciple of the moment. A cobbler was summoned and their broken sandals were repaired. A cobbler was summoned, imagine that. And their broken sandals were repaired. They left Igatpuri at 4 p.m. on the 26th October. Oh, that's today. And after walking 5 miles, reached Gauhati. There they waited for Baba to arrive, as he had insisted on walking with Bairamji far behind them. Meanwhile, Gani and Sadashiv sought lodging at the local dharamshala, but found it fully occupied. So after Baba and Bairamji arrived, they all went to their usual makeshift hotel, the passengers' platform at the railway station. The usual hotel, right? At the
Papa
railway.
was playing with their mind.
Excuse me, let me just break in for a second. We're past 1:30 already. It's
Oh.
after the hour.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to keep going on, but I cannot. I gotta go. So you have a couple hosts. I'm gonna
Okay,
leave.
we'll wait for you at the railway station. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, but you got to make sure you help with carrying the luggage.
Yeah, on your head whilst pushing the bullock cart, Marwan.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't
Which
even
page is this?
imagine.
Maybe
Honey Bunny,
I'll
which
have
page
to.
number is this?
What page was it, Marwan?
It's the page that I don't know, Honey Bunny. What
Honey
you've got
Bunny?
the online version
He can
that
put a
we've been
marker.
using, so he could tell us the page that he's on now.
Weren't all
Because
the accents great today? I loved all the accents. Mona, Mahu, Rosalie, me. Oh, right. Rosalie doesn't have an accent.